The original Skyrim trailer showed us the iconic figure of the Dragonborn, and despite the vast array of customization within the game, that figure remains to be seen as the main representation of the Dragonborn to this day. This build seeks to be as true to the original character as possible, whilst making it viable to play on the legendary difficulty setting, combining role-playing with overall combat effectiveness. The Dragonborn is a proud Nord who lived in Skyrim for nearly all of his life. He spent his days working as a mercenary who only accepted jobs that followed his own moral code. Unlike most other mercenaries, he wasn't in it for the money. He wanted to help people out, and felt that the best way he could do this was honing his skills as a warrior, so that he could defend the citizens of Skyrim against any threats they faced. After many years of adventuring round the holds of Skyrim, the Dragonborn felt that he had kept the dangers of the land at bay, and wished to see more of Tamriel. He ventured around the different continents, learning the history of Tamriel, and training with warriors from the different lands. He carried on helping out any citizens who sought out the help of a noble warrior, and was glad that all of his training had led to him being able to make the world a better place. Although he feels pride in his actions, he still feels like there is something missing from his life. He had left Skyrim to try and find some new purpose, but he still had a void within his soul. He decides that he should travel back to Skyrim, and goes through Cyrodiil on his journey, learning about the Emperors of the past, and being fascinated by Tiber Septim, learning more of the iconic hero than he had ever known in his youth. His family had brought him up with the worship of Talos, though he had never thought about the man himself, knowing him only as a god. This newfound knowledge will drive him to do more and work harder to protect his home, seeking to one day achieve as much as the Dragon Emperor himself. However, when he arrives back in Skyrim, he is captured by the Imperials in an ambush, and learns of the rebellion taking place in his homeland. He is horrified to see what has happened to the land he once protected, and feels like a stranger walking the lands for the first time. The main skills of this build are one-handed, block, enchanting, and alchemy. One-handed is critical to the build, as it will be the main way we deal damage to enemies. Make sure to invest in armsmen every time you can in order to maximise the damage of your sword. To further this, you may also wish to invest in bladesmen, in order to occasionally deal bonus damage. Block is going to be a skill we won't need to prioritise for perks, but it is important to try and level it steadily, in order to help mitigate damage from melee combat. Bashing also helps to keep enemies stunned. Stun locking enemies is an essential skill for keeping this character alive in tougher fights, and when you begin to get overwhelmed. Enchanting and alchemy are the crafting skills for this build. As we are using low level gear, we rely on enchantments to make our equipment have a positive effect on our character. Focus on Fortify One-Handed as your main enchantment in order to maximise damage, but mix up the enchantments to give you some more survivability. Don't forget to also make a smithing suit and an alchemy suit to further improve the character. Alchemy works well for improving these skills as well, but also adds to the combat effectiveness through healing potions, Fortify One-Handed, and resistance potions for fighting elemental or magic based enemies. The additional skills of this build are Alteration, Heavy Armour, Light Armour, and Archery. The Alteration skill will be used for casting flesh spells. This will help with the relatively low armour rating of the build, but more importantly will level up our Alteration skill, so that we can invest in the magic resistance perks. Once you have got the Novice and Apprentice Alteration perks, you can then start boosting your magic resistance permanently. Heavy Armour and Light Armour are both going to level for this character, as we use a combination of them. Our main armour piece is Light Armour, but the rest of it is heavy, including the shield, so if you want to invest in any of the perks that raise your armour value, then go for heavy over light. I personally didn't put any perks into these skills though, as having the skills higher was more important than actually investing perks in the two different skills. Finally, we have Archery. This gives us a ranged way to deal damage, and just gives the character some more variety. You are primarily a warrior, and you won't be able to take down crowds of enemies with your bow, but it's nice to occasionally pepper a bandit with arrows from a distance. Use shouts constantly, both for immersion and to give you an edge in combat. Unrelenting Force works incredibly well for putting enemies off balance, either letting you kill them or move away from them and reassess the situation. In addition, if you get the Dragonborn Force power from the black books contained within the Dragonborn DLC, then this shout will become significantly more powerful, and even has a chance to disintegrate enemies when they are at low health. The standing stone I recommend for this build is the Lordstone. This character doesn't have the best resistances, so having the Lordstone will be essential for keeping you alive early on, and still helps out a hell of a lot in later levels. In addition, you will want to regularly pray at a Shrine of Talos. This will reduce cooldown on shouts, letting you use them more effectively in combat scenarios. The Dragonborn wields a Skyforged steel sword. This fits with the aesthetic of the build while still giving you a fairly powerful weapon to wield. You'll need to become a fully fledged member of the Companions in order to get one of these, but for early adventuring you can always just use Vilka's sword for an early game powerful sword that fits the character. In addition, I recommend carrying a bow with you. I don't have a specific choice for bows for this build, so the choice is up to you. I didn't use archery too often, so I stuck with an ancient Nord bow that I got early on. The armour for this build is very important, but very restricted. You wear studded armour, iron boots, iron gauntlets, and an iron helmet. You'll also want to wield a banded iron shield. These are all here to fit the aesthetic that the Dragonborn has. If you saw the Skyrim trailers, then you'll be familiar with this look. All of these pieces can be obtained very early in the game, but unfortunately they aren't particularly powerful later on. Make sure to enchant all of these to improve the character overall. In addition, you will also want to wear a necklace and a ring enchanted with Fortify one-handed to make the character more powerful in combat. Before you can make these, use an Amulet of Talos and whatever ring you can find. The main focus of this character will be on the main questline, so you will want to side with both the Greybeards and the Blades. The Greybeards will help you locate word walls, and the Blades will send you to hunt dragons, meaning you always have a steady supply of dragon souls and shouts to spend them on. In addition, you will want to join the Companions, in order to get your hands on a Skyforged steel sword, the main weapon of this build. The Companions also help you to feel like a real hero in the world of Skyrim, killing bandits and rescuing citizens. You may also want to go through the Dragonborn DLC, as this ties in well with the character, and the Black Books give out some great bonuses. However, this is a very difficult DLC if you decide to play on Legendary difficulty, so make sure you're well prepared for some unforgiving fights against challenging enemies. This build works well with almost any follower, but the main one I would recommend would be Lydia. She is the first follower a lot of people got when they first played Skyrim, and is an iconic character in the game now. Personally, I've never had much love for her. She complains a lot, always stands in the way, and I have killed her on multiple occasions, both on accident and on purpose. That being said, she still fits in really well for the build, and helps to bring this character back to the roots of the game. The Dragonborn plays as a mix between a light and heavy warrior, but uses shouts for versatility. You aren't as fast as some warriors, so you can't rely on manoeuvring around enemies, but you don't have the tanking abilities of a heavy warrior, so you have to strike a bit of a balance between the two. You can move faster than certain enemies, and should use this to your advantage, but if you're facing enemies that can outpace you, or who have fast reactions, then you will need to depend on your armour and shield to keep you alive against their attacks. Shouts will help out with this, as they have so much variety to them. Try to gather as many different ones as you possibly can, and feel free to leave a comment below with what your favourite shouts in the game are. I hope that this build lived up to any expectations you had for it. A lot of work went into making the character, and if you think I did a good job, then please give the video a like, and consider sharing it too. If you're new here, then subscribe to the channel. I've got a ton of other great builds, and I'm working on some new series right now, but if you have any suggestions for series you would like to see on my channel, then comment below with your ideas. Thank you very much for watching the video, and make sure to click on one of the on-screen links for another incredible video.